All things must pass, my friends. I would play the song, but I don't want the estate of George Harrison to get a penny of the zero money that this video will make. So here we are at the end, and don't worry, Julian, this is the last video, you bellend. And I've had some thoughts. My main thought is how fortunate we are to be living in this age of analogue gaming. This may be the chauvinism of the present, but I look at the world of games and I'm struck by how varied it is and how much quality resides in that variety. I'm also struck by how popular games have become and how many different people are sitting down to games every week and how games are becoming mature and how they're tackling subjects that were never considered to be in the realm of board games before. There are idiots on the trendy new platform X that would bemoan the direction games have gone, that would have you believe that their apparently arbitrary conceptions of what is moral and right and seemly are the only ideas that you should follow obediently and without question. They believe that they have the last word on what makes a good world, and if you disagree with them on the most infinitesimal of points, then you're evil. The greatest thing about that insufferable bellend Elon Musk buying the seventh circle of hell in microblogging form and burning it to the ground is that these profusion of lazy, reductive morons are having their malign influence curbed because their half-arsed regurgitation of some non-fiction book they read the back cover précis of once is not activism. This poring over people's past utterances so they can find something they can be hanged by is not activism. Having a philosophy boiled down to an ambiguous phrase that can fit into 280 characters is not activism. Posting is not activism. It is mean and performative. It is second-hand dumpster philosophy that does nothing but drive people away from your argument. Though we all know that isn't the point. The kind of rhetoric spouted on X is nothing to do with changing the world. It's all about cheap likes and follows, the cheap endorphin rush of the phone notification. Doing this project, looking at these games has taught me that there is a real virtue in the analogue, a real virtue in stepping away from the screens that intrude in every aspect of our lives. The simple act of sitting around a table, playing a game and having a chat is invigorating. Another thing doing this project has taught me is that these games are not compromise either. You're not wading in a shallower artistic pool by playing games. They can stand up to all other forms of art in terms of telling us something about ourselves, the reason that art exists. Resistance Avalon tells us something about our propensity for dissembling. Blitzkrieg tells us that all great works of art needn't be massively long. Age of Steam informs us that perfection is closer than we think, and no thanks revels in the joy of simplicity. Doing this project has reminded me, if I needed reminding, that the art form is in rude health. That every year we're bombarded with brilliant works by the old masters like Knizia and Kramer, and the new band of brilliant designers like Phil Walker-Harling and Paolo Mori, to the beautiful minds that refuse to be categorised like Carl Chuddock and the Splotter Lads. Also, doing this project has made memories flow. Memories of all the great times that this weird collection of intellectual concepts crammed into boxes has given me. The people I've laughed with or shouted at, drunk beers with and shared moments of pure humanity with. Doing this has reminded me of all of those things, and though I'm fully aware of the irony of saying this on YouTube, I'm aware that this silly little hobby that involves sitting opposite people has improved me and those around me, and I know that I've met some of the best people I've ever known through this silly little hobby. Also, I've had the honour of having you, most of you strangers to me, listen to me witter on, to take time out of your days, time you'll never get back, to hear what I have to say about this silly little hobby. I don't take that for granted. This is a vital thing this project has taught me. How important people are, how we shouldn't take them for granted, and that without the people around me, I couldn't play all of these wonderful games. So thank you for indulging my bollocks and for sticking around to see what games I like. And I suppose I should get to that, really. Bloody Rainer Knizia. He can grab a concept and shake absolutely everything out of it. We have Ra, Amon-Re, High Society that all take auctions and bidding as their central concept and make magic out of them. The best of these classic Knizia auction games, though, is modern art. For a start, it's simply anarchic fun. You never know what the bastards around the table are going to throw at you. Also, the auctions are so beautifully implemented that you're never bored, never going through the motions. Modern art demands constant interaction around the table. It demands cajoling your fellow players. It demands that you adopt the persona of the slimy salesman. There are those that say Knizia isn't a thematic designer. What a load of old tosh. In a world in which art means nothing more than the revenue it can generate, modern art is as thematic as it gets. In modern art, we all become the slick-head charlatans who would prefer a Rolex to a Degas. We become the kind of people who wish to see great art in private hands because they are the people who will pay the most. This is theme. Then there is the mind-boggling ways able to model the flighty nature of the art market, how 1 minute an artist is at the height of fashion, uncontrollably in demand, and the next their paintings adorn walls in suburban homes. When he wants to be, Knizia is the most thematic of designers. The real brilliance to modern art, though, is how much bloody fun it is. Christ, this game is fun, all the time. I came late to this one and realised straight away that this is a game that plunges you into the pure heart of gaming, and it's brilliant. Bloody Reiner Knizia, eh? By far Uwe Rosenberg's best game and the dictionary definition of how you should create a satisfying arc in a ludological experience. Great games take you on the classic hero's journey. You start out small and insignificant, and over the play of the game, you grow by increments until you're astonished at the efficacy of your turns. This is Le Havre. Your turns at the beginning of the game are inconsequential. You look at the list of building opportunities and are dumbfounded. How will I ever build these things? But, bit by bit, with what little you can scrounge, you grow in power, and by the end of the game, you're leaving piles of fish to rot on the dock, because who needs such paltry offerings? And those impossible buildings, well, everyone is building them with ease. Some games just befuddle me by how brilliantly put together they are, and Le Havre is one of these. Turns are so simple too. You take some resources or place your worker. The work that has been done for you, though, to facilitate that super simple interface is flawless. The buildings are perfectly priced, and they bring in new rules that lead to that brilliant acceleration of power. The special buildings add just the right amount of spice and wackiness to let you know that this isn't simply a dry game of commerce. What is truly astonishing about Le Havre, though, is that the journey through the game is always the same. You want to be shipping expensive shit by the end, and yet the game always works, and it works you towards that goal. And although that journey is the same, it's always fascinating, always engrossing, always challenging. You don't need 100 different setup variations or 50 different expansions to make a game engaging and replayable. You need a brilliant central concept and astonishing engineering to be built around it. This is what Le Havre is the poster child for. The central idea of stripping worker placement back to one unit and designing cards and resources around it makes you feel like your worker is Heracles shoveling all of that cow shit out of the king's barn. Le Havre is the acme of game design, and every time I play it, I want to play it again. Trick-taking has been with us for at least 1,000 years. Spreading westward from China with games like Canhu, it transformed into Karneufel in Germany, Piquet in France, and Whist in Britain. After centuries of refinement, perfection was reached in trick-taking in 2013, and this perfection is called Skull King. Skull King is the most reliable game I've ever played. What do I mean by reliable, you may ask? Well, it is an unfortunate fact that games fail sometimes. They could simply be bad, or players aren't in the mood, and the mechanisms do nothing to get their dander up. The surroundings could be too noisy. All games have their potential to fail, but Skull King, in all the times I've played it, never has. Whether I play it with people who've never opened a board game box, or someone who has the BGG Top 100 memorised, it always results in a riot at the table. The good kind of riot, not the smashing shit one. The reason is that Skull King plays with one of the most common human traits, hubris. The ludicrous idea that you can plan something and that plan will work out. It's simply absurd. This is what I love about Skull King. You look at your hand and genuinely think you can reach the number you've bid. Sometimes you do, and that reinforces your confidence, and as soon as you become confident, you fail. What better lesson about life can be taught? The brilliant thing is, though, that failing is as hilarious as succeeding is satisfying. Some games beat you around when you fail. Skull King makes you laugh. Laugh at the absurd idea that you could ever really have succeeded. I played this game so many times and I've laughed and glowered and cursed every time. You know you all love trick-taking, so you owe it to yourself to play Skull King. Alright, before you start, I know this isn't a board game, but there have been other RPGs on the list, so wind your neck in. So much of our popular culture has been formed by this game. Not just games, but movies and novels follow the structure of a D&D campaign. Heroes levelling up their abilities, grand quests for fame and fortune. This is the template of D&D. The joy in this game for me is in running it, though. I'm almost always the dungeon master and I revel in it. The single greatest thing about D&D, though, is the control it cedes to the players. You can pick and choose what elements of the rules you want to use. You can choose how much of a board game you wish to make it. You can choose what you want to focus on, the improvisational elements of the game or the mechanical elements of the game. The key to great interactive art is giving ownership to the players, and both players and DMs feel like they own a session of D&D. I've had some of the best nights of my gaming life watching players trying to pull apart the puzzles I've set them. I've had some of the best nights of my gaming life pivoting when the players have done something completely unexpected. I've had some of the best nights of my gaming life just sitting back and watching the players create magic. Stories of D&D campaigns are duller than listening to someone's dreams, so I won't put you through that. But I will say that I've seen shy people bloom playing this game. It is structured enough that it never leaves people feeling naked, but open enough that if a player has an idea, they always feel that they can go with it. And that's the one tip I would give anyone thinking about DMing. Say yes every time and see where that affirmation leads you. It will always lead you somewhere, and it's almost certain to be somewhere magical. As gamers, we have so much to thank D&D for, and personally, it's helped me to write, to think, and to play. D&D is bloody magnificent. How did he do this, Vlaada Chvátil? This game isn't a cleverly fashioned engine. It's a microchip with so many moving parts that all go to creating the best board game ever made. Alright, I don't know how microchips work. This game is the most ambitious of all projects, to tell the history of human civilization in one sitting. What's even more remarkable is that it does it. Through the Ages is not just a miracle of game design, it's a miracle of art. It succeeds in ripping off our skins and showing us how the inside works. It gives us a beautifully efficient précis of how we got here, but gives us an unflinching portrait of how we get it wrong. Take the military track, for example. We needn't take any notice of it and the game would play just as well. An entire human history without the tremendous cost of conflict, yet every time the game descends into sabre rattling and eventually warfare. Through the Ages shows us through game mechanisms the fundamental destructiveness that is at the heart of what we are as animals, that the swing of the sword and the rattle of the gun is unavoidable. Ludologically, it can't be beat. The puzzle of how to grow, what leaders to choose, and how to pivot technologically is as good a challenge as games can present. You come out of a game of Through the Ages exhausted and refreshed and fully aware that you've communed with something profound, something that makes sense. This is truly the work of an auteur too. Through his beautiful mechanisms, he tells you what he thinks about the world, and whether you agree with him or not, you're struck by the endeavour and skill in every card. When I first played this, I hated its cruelty, but now I see that it's a feature, not a bug. The world is venal, unjust and violent, and Through the Ages teaches us this. It also teaches us something else. That art and culture are the things that will eventually let us win. That if we build the right society, we can travel to the stars together. It may be incredibly hard, but Through the Ages presents that possibility. This is the best board game ever made because it holds an unflinching mirror to what we are. Through the Ages is more than just a board game. It's a towering piece of art. So here we are at the end of the list. I want to thank everyone who has thumbed and liked and subbed and watched. You're the reason I do this. If you liked this, you can do all of those previous things, and you can also help to make more videos get made by joining my Patreon, just like these wonderful people. So what am I going to do next week? Well, frankly, I've no idea, but with a mind as capable at bullshit as mine, I'm sure I'll come up with something. So, until next week, and this is the bit where people usually have some cringy catchphrase, but I can't think of one, so, I don't know. Cheers.